Kingsley returns and a whole lot is revealed. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is Empire Season 5, Episode 15. And the name of this episode is A Wise Father That Knows His Own Child. And I think there are going to be 2 more episodes before the finale. But this episode was really good. It was very moving, and a lot more is revealed about Kingsley and his whole situation. So let me begin. The episode opens up. Lucius and Cookie actually go to church with Terry to pray for Andre's recovery. Terry is speaking to the congregation, and then the pastor comes up and talks. And one thing that he said that definitely got to Lucius was that put your house in order. And that definitely reigned, with Lucius throughout this episode. And then Tinka Jenkins Crawley, phenomenal talent. This is a Chicago-based artist. She's, she does contemporary gospel and jazz. She's phenomenal. And she sings, and it's just a very beautiful moment. And then after the church scene, they show that Andre is still getting chemo, and you can just tell his body is drained. And then later on we see that Cookie and Lucius have a conversation, back at the house, and Lucius is saying that the preacher was right. We have to get our house in order. So if I make peace with Kingsley, this in turn could actually help heal Andre. And then Cookie is still shaken up and everything because this is her son, and has this fear that Andre could die. And she's like, we might lose Andre. And he kind of flips out. You cannot be negative. You got to think positive. You have to instill positivity. You cannot let this negativity and this fear creep up on you. Immediately Cookie was like, oh, so I can't express how I feel, but I'm supposed to sit here and listen to you talk about Kingsley? So she pretty much says, I gotta go. And he's like, where you going? She tells him she's gonna go see Carol, about the new center that they're building. And Lucius kind of has that look on his eye like, I don't know if I buy that shit. And we come to find out what she ends up doing is going to see Damon. Damon is making dinner, playing Chef Boyardee, and we see that the two of them are going back and forth. She's talking about Andre and his condition and how she's feeling, and it's plainly obvious that Damon is still trying to woo Cookie, and he's trying to set the conditions where she will see him above Lucius. So they're talking, and she's saying that with all this going on, with Kingsley and Andre, so she's telling Damon everything, and because she's thinking of Damon as a friend, but we all know Damon got his own agenda going on. And she was saying that I'm trying to be tough through all of this, and he says you can't, and she says that Lucius is saying we got to be tough right now. And then he says, the thing is, I learned the opposite. I had to stop being the tough guy when it came down to my daughter dying from cancer, And she's just saying that I'm scared. I can't bury my son. And he was saying that, but that's just it. You need to feel that. You need to connect with that. Trying to suppress it is not helping. You need to feel it, and you need to acknowledge it. So it was some good advice, but then again, it was on some sinister shit because you're intentionally arguing against Lucius, so she will choose you more so over Lucius. And the situation's getting really messy, and let's just say later on, somebody checks her about it. So then We also have a scene where that damn FBI bitch, I want that bitch's head cut off. Because she is just nasty, she's racist, and she is just gunning for the governor's mansion. So she's willing to take down any and everybody to get what she wants. So now she got Kingsley back into the realm. You know, she's saying, I've been reaching out to you for weeks, I haven't got an answer. And she wants him to wear a recording device and try to get him to admit that he got, you know, all of this money from Panama with the help of Damon Cross. Because she's trying to connect the two so they can take down Damon. But then he says that, but then she tells him, but I want you to get the satisfaction that you took down your father, Lucius Lyon, for what he did to you and to your mother. So when he mentioned his mother, that's when Kingsley was like, show me how this works. Because at first he was kind of dead set against that. Like, first of all, Lucius is going to suspect something because Lucius is from the streets. You know, Lucius has a hustler mentality. He's going to know something's up if I just show up out of nowhere. But, you know, what changed his mind was when he mentioned his mother, because his mother is his linchpin. You know, the reason why he was doing everything he was doing, you know, as far as tearing down Empire and trying to ruin the Lion name, was in the name of his mother. And we get a lot about fucking Tracy this episode, because that bitch Tracy is something else. So let's keep it moving. So then we have a tender moment between Terry and Andre. She was telling Andre that she had a counseling session with the pastor, and he just comes out and tells her that, look, I love you, but I don't feel the same way about God the way you do. And he's like, I know he exists, but he's put me under a lot of cruel and unfair punishment, and I just can't forgive him at this point. And she was like, well, God doesn't punish. You know, that's not what God does. And then he tells her, God took my wife and he took my son. But Andre, you're not seeing that in a way God has blessed you, because now you have Terry, and Terry has a son, and you have probably been more of a father to her son than his biological father is. So in a way, you got that back. You just aren't seeing it right now. One, because you're sick, and another thing is because you kind of lost your faith, so you don't really see the irony. And he says that, look, I don't want nothing to do with God, and you got to accept that. And she tells him, I can't. But right now, I'm here for you. So she's like, I love you, but yeah, this is going to be an issue. Because right now you mad at God, but you're not seeing that there's a blessing that's there, because you saved her son, you know, from literally getting killed in prison. You know, because y'all remember when he was in prison, her son was in prison with him, and her son was being bullied by another prisoner. Andre got that motherfucker annihilated. And got him out because he got one of the guards in the jail to take to admit to his crime. So the son was freed, and now he's in school. He's acing, you know, he got a high score on his SATs and all that. So old boy's doing good. So in a way, old boy is like your kid. You've been a father figure to him. And you have this good woman who loves you, you know, from the depths of her soul. Because when you offered her money, she said, fuck the money, I want to get you treatment. You're going to beat this. So Andre just has to reconnect with his faith and get back into that. But right now he's still angry at God. And we just hope that in time, you know, him and God's relationship will heal itself. So then we see that Lucius goes to see Tracy. You know, White Tracy, like they used to call her back in the day. He goes in there, and let me say this. That damn Tracy is one self-righteous stinking bitch. She is still blaming Lucius and any and every damn body for everything that went wrong in her life, and doesn't want to own her shit. You know, Because immediately she comes in like, oh, so you're just doing drop-by meetings now? Is that what we're doing, Lucius? I'm like, you was just so disrespectful and so out of line that it's just ridiculous. And then, he pretty much saying that, and then she pretty much saying that, I'm still, it's funny that I'm still paying for what you did 35 years ago. And then she was like, yeah, and it's all your fault, Lucius. All of this is your fault. And he was saying that, bitch, you got cracked up. This is what the fuck happened, honey. First of all, you brought a boy, you never told me I had a son. And, he said that Kingsley had told me about some time he came to my house, but that was so long ago, I don't even remember it. And here it is, you were trying to introduce me to a son that you never even told me existed. And I said the way she did that shit was wrong. First of all, you showed up at his house unannounced. You show up at a motherfucker's house unannounced, you're gonna get a different side to that person, because don't nobody like that shit. And if anything, you never even mentioned that you even had a child. And we come to find out when he saw her kid and he kind of blew it off, was because there was a lot more to Tracy that he let out later. But in this scene, Lucius got her ass all the way together. He told her about her damn self. He said, first of all, you got cracked up, you lost your way, and then you had this kid, and you made my son into my enemy, and then you told lies because you are afraid to deal with your own shit and to face your own problems. I'm like, you better tell her ass, Lucius. And then, all of a sudden, she starts talking, and she's saying that, oh, I remember back in the day when you used to always dress so fly. You was always so clean. And I was the white girl that can dance. And here it is. We were going to be married and get a nice house and raise our baby. And I'm looking at this like this bitch is still in Fantasyland. She's still in Fantasyland. She is a weak person who's never took ownership of her mistakes. She blames everybody, and she blames Lucius for everything. And it's starting to really sink in that this is why Kingsley was so evil towards Lucius and his family, because she started planning all of this shit in her son. But then he tells Tracy, I want to build a relationship with my son, and I need you to build a bridge between me and him. And he was saying that, look, it's his decision, but I'll talk to him. So then we see that the trust tour is in New Jersey. Becky goes to talk to Hakeem because Devon is on the tour. He just finished his debut album, and she was asking, to introduce him, why not you go on stage, with Devon? Hakeem was like, absolutely not. And she was like, why? And he was saying that, look, I fucking did the same thing with Drake, and all that did was equal to drama. Becky was like, number one, he's not Blake. And number two, that drama you created yourself. And then he was like, look, I need to focus on myself right now. And she's like, well, how's that different than any other day? I'm like, Becky was reading like shit. And then he just kind of dismissed her, and that was the end of that. But I'm like, yeah, Hakeem's simple as hell. But then we come to find out why he didn't want to help Devon. So then we get a scene between Carol and Cookie. Carol lets her know that Lucia's been calling me, asking me about stuff, and she was like, well, what you say? She's like, don't worry, I got you covered, and I even said that we was going to be on phase 2 of the tour, and she's like, don't worry, probably something will come up before then, I just covered it. But she's like, what's going on that your husband thinking you with me, what you hiding, what's going on? And then she was saying that, and then, her and Cookie have a one-on-one, and she's like, so are you still going around messing with that dude you was talking about? And she was like, no, it's not like that. He's just a friend. He's really helping me through dealing with Andre. Right now, you know, me and Lucius just aren't seeing eye to eye with that. So I decided, so me and Devon have been talking, and he's been helping me through this. And if anything, that damn Carol, as cracked out and crazy as Carol is, Carol dropped a gem and put it right in her lap. She was saying that, look, when you're lying to your husband and you're relying on another man, that is a threat to your marriage. So she's letting it be known you're walking on thin ice where you could lose everything because you're playing this kind of game. So then we see that Thirsty and Lucius are talking. Kingsley shows up, you know, and that damn Thirsty is fucking funny. He's like, oh, so the run of the litter. He's like, yeah, I'm about to go. And then he pretty much excuses, you know, Thirsty so he can talk to Kingsley. And like, Thirsty was like, you sure? But, you know, if I were you, I'll get a DNA on this dude right here. I was like, Thirsty's a mess. Because, you know, let's just be real. You know, Kingsley did a real dangerous number on the whole company. Now the whole company was literally like in shambles after Kingsley did what he did. So him and Kingsley sit down and they have a moment. We see that he's wearing the device on his wrist. And he pretty much apologizes for erasing his music and that he was being vindictive and emotional at the time. And I mean, then he's saying that, but you know, I have to say what you're doing with the Trust Tour was smart. It was a great business move. And then he started saying that I can learn a lot from you, you know, from your last deal. So immediately, Lucius is kind of looking sideways like, what you talking about? What you mean? And then he was saying that, you know, and then, you know, he had a moment about, you know, he had talked about, you know, his mother Tracy. And, you know, Lucius says that, look, you know, it's so messed up that Tracy went down the road she went down, but at the end of the day, I ain't never hooked her on anything. I was a hustler. I never did my own supply. I never fucked with that shit. That's how the way I was able to survive, because I never touched it. I just dealt it and made money off of it. So all of a sudden he starts talking about, you know, so how was it that you were able to get the funding, you know, to launch this tour and all of these things? You know, did you get like a cash infusion, personal friend, you know, were there some, you know, hidden connection that you're working with? And all of a sudden Lucius is kind of doubling back like, did your mother, did you talk to your mother before you came here? And he was like, oh no, I came here on my own. So he immediately dismissed the meeting, you know, pretty much cut this meeting short. We'll meet later on for dinner maybe, but, you know, I got an emergency situation. I got to handle it. So after Kingsley leaves, he brings back in Thirsty, and Thirsty was like, I think he's working with the feds. He's trying to set me up. Because I'm like, the fact that he was asking certain questions, you kind of gave yourself away, and you ain't been around for a minute to know some of the things you knew. So the fact that you was asking certain questions, you were kind of leading that you knew more than you should have. So that was on Kingsley's bad, you know, because... So then we see that Andre meets up with the doctor. He's responding well to treatment. And they were saying that, so does the cancer lessen because of the treatment? They said that that's not our option. Our option is to remove it. And he tells them that, you know, due to the fact that you're responding good to the treatment, the next treatment you should be cancer free. All of them are excited, and it's a really, you know, happy moment that it's a possibility that, you know, that Andre can beat this. So then we see after Kingsley goes, after his meeting with his father Lucius, he goes to talk to his mother Tracy, and Tracy is just as trifling and disgusting. she asked, like, so that Lucius came to see you. It's like, yeah, he came to see me, the evil bastard. He's always trying to belittle me and trying to ruin me. He's just the devil. But then that damn Kings is like, yeah, but you slept with him. And then she was like, you watch your mouth. I'm still your mother and blah, blah, blah. And my bad, y'all. But the thing is, it was just crazy that here it is. She really was showing her ass and was saying that, and it's plainly obvious in this scene, she's the one that planted that evil and made him hate his father. And, and then she lied and said that Lucius used to do drugs with her. And then she told him that when I told Lucius I was pregnant, he threatened to beat it out of me. But Kingsley is now looking at his mother side-eye like, I don't know if I believe everything you're telling me now, bitch. And then she had the nerve to say, he's like, what can I do to make you feel better, Mom? It's like, well, you can give Mommy a kiss like a good boy. And go tell that damn nurse to give me something so I can sleep. Gone. And I'm like, oh, really, bitch? Tracy's a fucking mess. And we see that this is really the main thing that has made Kingsley evil. And it's crazy as hell. So we see that the trust tour is in as I mentioned before, it's in New Jersey. That's where they are now. We see that instead of Hakeem, being on stage, with Devon on his debut performance on the tour, Tiana introduces him, and you immediately see there are sparks between Tiana and Devon. So that's why he didn't want to work with him, is because he probably know that there's some type of connection there. And the whole time while he's singing, Devon and Tiana looking back at each other and they're smiling and all that. And we see that Hakeem is just sitting there mad as shit, and he is soaking and all up in his feelings. And then it gets to the point that Maya goes over there to talk to him. She was like, those puppy dog guys, they don't look too good on you. And he's like, you mean over Tiana? It's not like that. Well, she's like, well, from what I'm standing, that's exactly what it is. He's like, it's not like that. And then she was like, well, good. And then we kind of see him look into Maya because he's feeling Maya. But Maya then already had her little fun night with Blake. So we're going to see how this all is going to crumble, because I can guarantee there's going to be a whole bunch of drama on this tour. Like, already dealing with Hakeem, Carlito, Tiana, Blake, and possibly Devon. So then, after, Cookie gets the good news about Andre, she goes over to Damon. Damon done got some good champagne. He done, made some sauteed rosemary chicken and shit. Went all out with it and everything. And it's like, Cookie is not even catching the fact this dude is wooing you. He's using your situation to woo you away from Lucius. And it took her a minute, so while they talking and everything, and she was like, oh yes, this is so great. And he's like, oh yeah, it's real good, baby. And all of a sudden, she started having the flashbacks. She flashed back to what Carol told her earlier. And she also flashes back to her and Lucius and all that. She pretty much gets her shit and gets out of there. She's like, and she was like, look, I realize that things are crazy. And yeah, I'm going through it, but so is Lucius. Lucius is going through it the same way. We just deal with things differently. And then all of a sudden, here you go with that damn Damon's like, well, I can do things that Lucius can't. So you just practically gave it up that this whole damn time, you just been using her grief and her situation as a way to woo her into your camp. And she says, I thank you for being there for me, but this right here is over. I wasn't trying to lead you on. I wasn't trying to play games. But then again, you kind of created a situation where you were kind of on thin ice. And she finally realized it, because everything that everything that Carol told her came true. So we saw that go down. So then later on, after that, we see that Kingsley goes back to meet up with Lucius, and he says, tell the real story about how Tracy met Lucius. And he was saying that, look, when I was hustling, me and your mom used to kick it with each other, and she asked to try my stuff, and he lets it be known that against every warning I tried to give her, she tried it and she liked it. He's like, I admit I sold it to her, but I didn't turn her on to anything. She was a good girl and she lost her way. And of course it got to a point where Kingsley started to get defensive and everything, and he was saying that, why would you leave her and leave her discarded? And he was saying that, look, I didn't know that she even had a kid, especially for the fact she had many. And he stopped himself, and then Kingsley's like, I can take it, tell me. He lets it be known, your mother went from cute Tracy to crackhead Tracy to strawberry Tracy. And I was like, damn. Like, it just goes to show you, your mother was a loose booty out here in them streets, and she was on that shit, and she would do any and everything to get her high. This is who your mother is, and she obviously got a whole bunch of ratchet behavior and a whole bunch of ratchet thoughts running into her sorry ass head, and she planted that shit into you. And then he says, did you ever threaten her when she was pregnant with me? And he says, I would have never did nothing like that. Like, why would she tell you something like that? I would never do that to you. Like, and do you think I would allow a child that I knew I had to be raised by somebody with her condition? I didn't know anything about you. She never told me about you. And he says that, look, let me be your father. She robbed me of an opportunity to be a father to you, but I can still be your father now. And the next thing you know, we see that he starts Kingsley starts tearing up, and then he lifts his hand and shows the device that the FBI got on him. Lucius removes it. Lucius is crying. Both father and son are crying, and they embrace. I mean, that was some waterworks right there, because that was a really moving moment. Then we see that Kingsley goes back to that FBI agent, old trifling bitch, gives her back the thing, and he says that, I'm done. And she's like, you're done when I say you're done. Like, she is so disrespectful and so full of herself. She just, in her mind, I got this in the bag, and I'm willing to fuck up any and everybody to get what I want. And then had a nerve to say, like, oh yeah, congrats on your little father and son moment. Do you actually believe that bullshit? He says, regardless of that, I'm not a rat. And she's like, okay, fine, but I want to let you know that I'm coming for every single one of you. So I'm like, this bitch needs to go. We need to annihilate her ass, and we need to do it fast. So then we see that the family, the Lyons family's having dinner. Lucius isn't there yet, but they're all, breaking bread and everything. And then, Terry also mentions, oh yeah, we should say grace. So she's bringing the God into the situation. And next thing you know, we see that Lucius comes in there with Kingsley. You can hear a pin drop, and you can cut the tension with a knife, because Kingsley has done a whole bunch of fuck shit to the company and to the family. So immediately they are completely just turned off. And then Cookie tells Juanita, because she literally had a glass of wine. She gulped that shit down and told Juanita, I need a refill. And then she pours something like, fill that bitch up. I'ma need this tonight. And then all of a sudden we can just see Lucius and Cookie looking at each other, and Cookie is heated. But they're also happy because Andre's doing better. But the fact that he brought Kingsley up in there, oh, you just felt the tension throughout. And pretty much Cookie was like, well, we're not going to solve everything tonight, but maybe here's where we start to mend, you know, our relationship with Kingsley. But Kingsley says that, look, he lets it be known, Kingsley is my son, he is a part of this family, and we need to embrace him. But the thing is, they don't know the backstory of crazy-ass Tracy. Because if they understood Tracy, they would have understood why Kingsley did what he did. But I think in time they may know this shit. But you can just see, like, Hakeem and Jamal and Andre just giving dirty looks to fucking Kingsley. Like, what the fuck you doing here? But then, you know, Lucius says, eat up, son. Enjoy yourself. You're with your family. And he begins to eat and everything. And then Jamal says, like, okay, let me cut this tension since it's so damn quiet. He commends Andre for fighting and, you know, that he's getting better and that he's happy that he's doing very well. But then he also announced that him and Kai are getting married and they're going to do it soon. They're going to do it, you know, more sooner than anything because they don't have time to plan a wedding. You know, because him and Kai, you know, is going to have their little rendezvous. They start going back and forth about wedding arrangements, and it just got to the point where they've now decided that, look, we're just going to get married and just make this happen. We're not going to stress ourselves out by trying to plan a wedding. We're just going to get married. And Lucius lets Jamal know, you know, this is a big step, and I hope you're ready for it. So they all cheers to Jamal and Kai getting married. So this is going to be interesting, and we're starting to see that the dynamics between Jamal and Kai have gotten a lot better. You know, because they are polar differences, but yet they actually work together very well. So then, back on the tour in Jersey, we see that the damn FBI is raiding everything on the tour. The equipment, you know, luggage, all that shit. And Becky comes in and is like, first of all, you can't be in here without a warrant. What the hell is this shit? And then she was like, sweetie, and then the agent was like, it's step aside, sweetheart, you know, let us do our job. And she's like, bitch, what you're doing ain't your job, it's harassment. And she was like, look, my issue is not with you, it's with your employer, Lucius Lyon, and we think that he hasn't let this drug life go. And I'm like, bitch, you got this shit from Kingsley, and because you knew of his drug past, you used that as a reason to raid and shut down his tour. You evil, trifling bitch. And then she says that, yeah, you know, we might think there may be narcotics on this tour. So, yeah, we're going to go through everything, and you need to let your fans know that the Trust tour is over. I'm like, oh, bitch is going to fucking go any way she can to take down Lucius so she can get to Damon. Like, the bitch is evil. This ain't about justice. This is about her own prestige. And I can't wait for her ass to get fucking... I can't wait for they cut her fucking head off. I want this bitch done. Because she's just evil. And she's using her position to maneuver things so she can get her way. Well, that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of Empire. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about the camera falling, y'all. Complete technical difficulty. Not planned. But until next time, everybody, take care.